Hey everyone, Hybrid Toy Reviews here, and I have a package in front of me from Commander Cook. Now, obviously, I've already opened it and just resealed it for this presentation, and I'm not doxing anyone, him or myself. I am the King of Ohio. If you're in the 1313 Discord, you know. If you're not in the Discord, I'm going to plug it for him. You guys should go get in there. It's a super fun community of people. It's where Commander Cook and I have gotten to know each other a good bit, and he has blown me away on this one. He is my go-to customizer guy. So upon opening the package, I was greeted by a thank you note. Thanks again for supporting my work. As I'm sure you already know, some caution is required. Custom figures, they can be a little bit more delicate paint app-wise, and that's absolutely just a good practice for any custom, not just his. And then, little dude peeking over the fence and my logo. I'm going to be honest, looking at that guy and then looking at me, I don't really see the resemblance, but maybe. But fan art is fan art, so let's go handle this. Right on the fridge you go. Anyway, like a early 2000s home renovation show that you had to have been there to know about, move that box. Oh boy. There is some good stuff here. Let me reposition the camera, swing it in a bit, and yeah, so there's some good stuff here. So these two are using bootleg bodies. I do believe that one is using an Elite Squad Trooper. That was my idea. I'll talk you through some of the process as we go through them. This Jesse helmet I had commissioned because Hasbro doesn't know how to make an... as I drop it. I had commissioned this because Hasbro doesn't know how to do an accurate Jesse helmet for the ARC Trooper, and since we were using some bootleg bodies for the ARFs, which got custom heads, I knew this head would be laying around, so I asked him to paint it. There's a tiny miscommunication, which we were totally fine on, but I just wanted to show him I did manage to Dremel the head out. He sent it with the old head glued in. Which is fine. I got the head taken out, no damage to the piece, and it is totally ready for, to be plugged onto the Jesse head. I'm super keen on it. It came, all these figures, they came with the long rifle and the short rifle. I actually took one of the long rifles because I'm more of a short rifle guy. I clipped the end of the barrel just to make it flat, and I poured a bunch of hot glue around the base on a piece of wax paper, and then I painted it with just some mixed acrylics to make it kind of gray. And what's going to happen, as you saw it displayed, it's like the head on the spike. I don't know if they were pipes or if they were blaster rifles in the episode. I like to think it's rifles, kind of like what we do, for like our veteran memorials. But this is just going to vibe on my desk next to my monitor until the Jesse figure comes out. So, not the most exciting piece, but definitely something that I was going to have him do while it was there. And the paint just came out spectacular. I don't know if he does stencils for that Republic logo or if that's by hand. If it's by hand, it is absolutely crazy good. You should go check out his channel. I mean, of course you should. But he did a video doing a custom ARC Trooper Jesse about a month ago, maybe? And it was pretty shortly after Hasbro announced theirs, and so that's when I knew that he could pull something like this off, and it came out really good. I love the amount of communication with the guy. He talked to me throughout the process for all of these, really. And, he was just like, hey, do you want the black visor? Do you want the blue visor? I think in the show it probably had a black visor, but Jesse painted over it blue, because looking at Clone Wars it was blue. I chose to go that route. I think it looks really good. And yeah, I'm very, very keen on that. Now, where this whole order started is I had the idea to do... Scoot the blasters over. I had the idea for a Shadow ARF Trooper. So, this was mildly inspired by his Jek 14, which was a Lego clone from a Lego animated special, where he took a character made by Lego and made it out of real pieces. Lego did a promotional... Shadow ARF Trooper Polybag is a May 4th giveaway in 2011, I believe. I should pop it up over here somewhere. Really cool, not canon. I don't think it's popped up anywhere, but that minifigure's like expensive as hell now. I always wanted it when I was a kid. I'm not going to spend, we're talking, what, $300, $400, $500, $600 for it. Like, a minifigure is like a $5 tops thing for me. I don't care about them that much. So, this was the next best thing. Some could say better than a minifigure. It was really simple. It's just a black clone with some blue punches on the helmet with a silver visor. And in talking to him, I had the idea, as was mentioned in that note, you have to be a little bit delicate. You might have paint chips and stuff. And so my thought was, man, should there ever be a paint chip on a white clone trooper body? That's going to be like a super duper visible thing. So I thought, what if we use the Elite Squad trooper? Because it's like, that dark, charcoal gray. And so at least if there's a chip, almost could pass for weathering. And he thought that was a great idea. And it's a cheap figure. So, we went that route. So he technically has the old clone legs because it's the Elite Squad for a base body. But he came out spectacular. One of the downsides with these ARF helmets is the visor, does block light as a visor should, but it does make it a little bit harder to light for this video. But that silver visor, man, is just so good. It has a nice lustery look to it. I'm incredibly happy with that. These helmets are 3D printed, and we picked them up on Etsy. I will drop a link in the description down below. I'm moving the lights just so you can see them dead on. But I will drop a link in the description below. A for Commander Cook, B to the Etsy listing, should you be curious. They sell them in a couple of different options. You can buy a singular one or a 3-pack, and the 3-pack was a few dollars, off. I think it was something like $20 for the 3-pack or $8 for a single one, and at that point, it's like buy two, get one half off. And I like a bargain. So at that point, it went from being just a Shadow ARF commission to also some white ARFs. But I really like how this guy turned out. He also had an idea. Because the Lego figure, was a black figure, and then it had like gray printing for the torso, because obviously it's flat, so it doesn't have the texture to it. So he had the idea to like punch a little bit of blue on the communicator and on the belt and on the grenade in the back. It's not minifigure accurate, and on the pouches there. Not minifigure accurate, but definitely a brilliant call on his part. It definitely does make it stand out a little bit more. And he also did just the lightest little bit of using like a light gray to weather. To be honest with you, I didn't really think of the weathering when I commissioned this guy. Just because I was like, man, on black, how do you do a dirty wash? And the answer is you don't. So he's a little bit cleaner than most of his figures are, but that is just by design, by this character design. So yeah, from there, actually let me grab something over here. No. So one of the figures that I had a ton of as a kid were the 3.75 Clone Wars ARF Troopers. I never had this one. This one was a recent Comic-Con pickup for me, but I don't have any of what I had a lot of, which were just the plain white one. So I had pictured in my mind exactly how this one turned out. We were talking, he was like, do you want to do, what episodes basically do you want them from? And I was like, let's do like the Ryloth ones where they're just basically white, because I think every other appearance they would have a camo or, a marking or an insignia, and I wanted just the generic, white ARF trooper. And so I was thinking of this figure that they did as 3.75 as a kid, and he went and he looked at that Ryloth episode, and he pointed out the helmets, the action figures always had these 4 blue stripes, so he pointed out there was one in those episodes that only had 2. And I love a little bit of variety. So I was like, well, in that case, since I'm doing 2 white ones, why don't we do one with 4 and one with 2? I don't know if that indicates rank or just number, or if that means they're in different squads. I don't know what those ticks mean. If there's anyone in the comments below who maybe is like a 501st member or whatever, and has textbooks on how everything was done in the Grand Army of the Republic, please fire off down below. I'm not going to research that deep. It's just a little variation. I'm really keen on it. So these, I believe, are bootleg bodies, and again with a 3D printed resin helmets, and they came out really good. I love how, with these customs, I love it when you buy a Hasbro figure with any sort of weathering, it's always the same deco. So like if you put a bunch of them side by side, I personally can tolerate it. I know it bothers some people, but I do agree it's better when you have that just kind of uniqueness that this by hand does. He has a scuff over here that this guy doesn't have, and this guy has one in the center that this guy doesn't have. And there's just a lot of variation to that. And he does weathering perfect. I tell you, Commander Cook does an amazing job on weathering. He puts it right where you want it. He doesn't do super heavy. You know, I don't really like it when people do like a white clone, and then he's almost gray by the time that you do a wash over a wash over a wash over a wash. And sometimes, you know, in the show they'd get that way by the end of a battle. But, you know, like I kind of like it where they're just light. You know, there's some scratches that are just so ingrained that they're never going to buff out. And so, yeah, I really love how these guys turned out. Let me spin them around. And unlike Hasbro, Commander Cook doesn't have the budgetary limitations to not do a little weathering around back, too. They came out so good. And, it's the punch-ins everywhere that would make sense, too. So under like the pecs of the chest armor, you know, there's a little bit there, and kind of like the ab, you know, crevices there where the joins are on the helmet. I mean, everywhere that you would want there to be, you know, a punch-in, you know, there's a punch-in, and they just turned out so good. I absolutely adore these. These are spectacular. I'm gonna use this one. Why not? Just to run through some articulation. As mentioned, you know, there are some limitations. You're not going to try and force anything. But mostly I just want to show off how these helmets work out. So these helmets, when they're printed, you know, they're basically a flat bottom there with a big hole in the center. And I saw in the video with the Shadow ARF, he filled with hot glue, basically, which is a common tactic. It still features articulation on that top ball joint. The bottom one seems to be where a lot of the tilt comes from. So he can look that high up, which is pretty good. It feels like there's like a little more, but then it springs back. He can bury his chin, which is nice. Rotate. That's some decent pivot. I mean, I'm not going to crank on it or anything, but that feels acceptable. I mean, it's not limited. You can do any pose you want with them. Then, of course, your standard 360 at the shoulders, your butterfly joint, your arm can come out. A lot of the times on these, I would force the shoulder pad up onto the torso. I'm not going to do that on these because something else, and I love that he communicated this with me, is it was a white body, and the helmets are resin printed in gray. And so you can't just paint the helmet white because then you have like a different shade of white from the body. That wasn't a problem with the Shadow ARF because everything was going to get painted black. So, you know, you were using the same paint. So he was like, I can just paint the helmets. Here's what it looks like. He sent me a picture. There was a difference in white. You know, to some people it probably wouldn't have bothered him too bad. For the difference in price for painting the whole body, and he broke it down with me. I mean, and was very fair. I had him paint the entire body just for that uniform shade of white. I think that was the way to go. I mean, for the amount that we were talking on doing it anyway, it wasn't that big a difference at all. And, you know, do it right? So anyway, these shoulder pads are white plastic with then white paint over top, but they're different shades of white. So I'm not going to force them up over the shoulders like I do in a lot of times. They do still have some rubberiness, but I'm not going to crack that. So technically, no T-pose. That's as high as they go. But you get so much swing that you're fine. And as you'll see if you look at my Instagram, I've been posting up some pics. They do everything you'd want them to do. He separates the elbow pads from the bicep armor. It's not my big pick, but I know why a lot of people like to do that. Working with that joint, you can go a little past 90 at the elbow and then swivel at the elbow still. 360 on the wrist, with the left one hinging in and out, the right one hinging up and down. So it just makes the elbows and even the knees, but the elbows in particular, just a little bit more fiddly when you're articulating them, but that's fine. He has his normal ab motion. As mentioned, I don't want to go too crazy on this because I don't want to scuff it up. Legs can kick out that far without forcing anything to a danger point. That far forward when you rotate the thigh joint. As far back as it would normally do. Single jointed knees, they can go past 90 and rotate at the knee. And then the feet can point. They're normal, basically straight down and pretty far forward. And yeah, I mean, it's everything you would want. And again, as the note said, you just got to be a little bit delicate. And something I guess to note is because we use the Elite Squad body, it features the double pinned old legs on that one. But you see they stand the same height. They look really good. Let me bring in a couple figures for some size comparisons. Why not? So setting these guys over here. Let me actually set this up just a little bit better. If you guys watch the channel, you know that this is not my first Commander Cook pickup. So here is Waxer, who I commissioned before the AliExpress one ever got done. And I had it in hand for a while before the AliExpress ones came up. And Boyle. So, as you see, I talked to Commander Cook all about clones. But yeah, I mean, I've been very happy. I have 5 figures here that I was never going to get otherwise, and I adore them. I'm mega thrilled. And that's, you know, I just cannot praise his talents highly enough. I am extremely happy with how this order came out. So, end of the day, Commander Cook, I call you a wizard every time I put you in my Instagram stories, and it's the truth. You take these plastic parts and you make something so much better than they ever could have been otherwise. Your talent is indescribable. And honestly, you're my guy. You're who I'm calling anytime I need anything. To everyone watching this, this is basically just going to be a 15-minute shout out to Commander Cook. You know, these came out so good. You guys, everyone watching this needs to go check out Commander Cook. He does these awesome videos on just his process and how he makes stuff. He actually did a video on the Shadow ARF Trooper, and I have watched it easily 10 times. It is just so much fun seeing the process. I'm someone who loves seeing how things are made in general. Does anyone remember that How It's Made show I think Discovery Channel used to do, you know, back in the mid-2000s? That was like my childhood show right there. I loved that, and I get down that How It's Made rabbit hole on YouTube every now and then. And just seeing the process and seeing something so cool come out of it at the end. You know, the ARF Trooper might get made by Hasbro someday. I'm kind of shocked it hasn't happened yet, but it not happening yet kind of makes me think it's really far down the list. But then from there, they were never going to make a Shadow ARF. They were never going to make the right Jesse helmet. That's definitely... I'm happy to have it. It's going to be a lot more exciting when I have the Jesse figure, but it came out super good. But for real, I mean, anyone out there who has some ideas, you know, they want, you know, a clone that Hasbro's not going to make, or, you know, anything like that, you need to talk to Commander Cook. He's going to set you up. He's going to get you done right. And, you know, you're not going to have... I'm not going to say you're not going to have a better experience anywhere else, because he's really the only guy I've spoken to, but he's given me no reason to want to talk to anyone else for commissions. He's just that good. Again, cannot praise him highly enough. The talent is astronomical, and that's all I can say other than repeating everything. Commander Cook good is the summary here. So, thank you guys for watching. Go watch his videos, give him a boost, subscribe to him, and go check out his Instagram. I mean, he's doing some good stuff, and it's just always fun to see. So, I'm going to go. I have some other videos to work on. Thanks for watching. It means a lot that you did, and I will catch you guys next time. Have a good one. Bye.